Welcome to the worst of the riot extra. This week's topic. There's been a lot going on when it comes to streaming services as of late. Last week, we had an announcement that Fox and Warner Brothers and ESPN are all getting together, Disney are all getting together and making a sports streaming service that's going to be coming out later this fall, I believe. We also just got news that Amazon being sued for how they've added ads to their Prime Video subscription without changing the price. Isaiah, I think a lot of this stuff is as I go through this, a lot of this is predictable. And so what I want from you is a prediction. I want you to tell me something that will happen in the future of streaming that hasn't happened yet.
One thing that I think is going to happen, and this isn't because of any of the certain services, this is what's going to happen to kind of our social community, and it's going to be because of how this is set up. If it continues to go this way, where there's Amazon Prime, and there's Hulu, and there's Disney Plus, and they're all getting more expensive, and they all have different things on them. Not a lot of crossover there, right?
Yeah, right.
And if you think about all the classic movies, the classic shows, like who hasn't seen The Office? Who hasn't seen Friends?
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother? A bunch of these shows that are very widely available back in the early 2000s that everybody watched. I guarantee if it continues this way, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, the crossover on people's like go-to shows, classic movies, classic shows, there will be so much less crossover. Like the movies that every single person has seen because it was a classic movie, way less of those, way less classic shows that everybody has seen, everybody can quote, because I might pay for Amazon Prime, but I don't want to pay for Hulu. And your favorite show might be on Hulu, but you don't want to pay for Netflix because of this. And there's no crossover. And so I think if they keep it this way, it could hurt a lot of our movie connoisseur and show connoisseurs who really love that stuff. It's gonna hurt that social connection.
I think that's a real wise pick because you're right. Movies are one thing because at least most of them still, and this has been tried and true, that even though a lot of them go directly to streaming services now, and with the pickup over the years of streaming services, the big movies still wind up going to theaters. Yeah. And so everybody still has a chance to go see them in, kind of a communal, everybody's doing it at the same time, like Barbie for a good example. And we're going to get more of those this year. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere. But as far as shows go, you're right. The big shows used to be like The Office was on NBC. And then everybody, because it was on Netflix, which was so attainable, everybody would see it. At the time,
it was like one of the only ones.
Yeah. And so one way or another, whether you watched it when it was on at first or whether you watched it on streaming later on, everybody got a chance to see it. But it's true. There's some people now, there's less and less people that watch the shows on broadcast TV. That's become more and more like there's some shows like that, but more and more it's less shows, and that sports and live stuff is the only thing that really gets big viewership on like the TV that anybody can just get for free. And so then you're just having where the big shows are on one streaming service and only one streaming service, but all the people that are missing out on that streaming service are going to miss it. So that's a good call. I was thinking, I don't know if this is such a concrete prediction. I think that these streaming services right now, they just make so many shows. And I think that the number is going to have to come down because they can't keep raising prices at the moment. They've put ads in. I feel like people are already kind of saying enough is enough. They're cutting down on patches. They're doing all this stuff to try to maximize profits and cut the losses of how much it costs to put all these shows together. It's an astronomical amount, and some of these shows just can't be worth it. Already Netflix has kind of dealt with that. I think more and more you're just going to get less of a library of new things coming to these streaming services. And I do kind of wonder too one day, and this is kind of like what we're seeing with the Fox, ESPN, Warner Brothers all coming together for the sports streaming service, where people are saying, well, that's basically cable, which people have said since like the second streaming service, once there was anything other than Netflix, people are like, Eventually, it's just going to be one big streaming service, which is going to be cable because that'll be cheaper. And that's the direction we're headed. I kind of think that's where we're going, but it will be different. It will be more on demand. It'll be more similar to Spotify, where basically every show is on one big one. You'll have to pay more, but people won't watch it the way they watched cable. They're going to watch it. It's just going to be a big library like Spotify, and you'll just find the shows and movies you want to find.
So you're thinking that they're all going to combine? A merger of a sort.
Somehow, one way or another. It may not be a merger. It might be some other. It feels like it could be some other like enterprising entity. Maybe it could be Spotify. I don't know if they. I mean, it would have to be somebody with a lot of money, but that finds a way to converge them all into one from the outside. I don't know how that works.
It's going to be tough. That's going to be super. Like, who's going to give that up? You know?
Yeah.
Like, is Netflix going to give it up? I don't know if they'll give it up.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, it might be. It might. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Maybe that's unrealistic, but at the same time, I feel like that's what people want, and so the more that is offered, even if it's not at first all at once, I feel like that's the way we're going.
I mean, I can see it, and people talk about. There's lots of people who still have like the direct TVs and those ones, and even those. Everyone right now, at least like I'm having this conversation a lot with my parents because they still have DirecTV, but all of their friends, they're all moving. It feels like they're moving away from it. And it's not that they're moving away from DirecTV to get Netflix or Hulu, but I know some of them are getting like YouTube TV and Fubo. And my parents are kind of in the in-between right now of like which, like, I guess it's more streaming service-esque. Like YouTube TV is very similar to DirecTV, but it doesn't feel like it's like a traditional sort of cable company, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's its own streaming service, but it's not. And so I feel like a lot of the older audience that still have DirecTV or any kind of cable setup, whatever it is, they're even starting to consider how can we go in a different direction because it's so expensive. Like DirecTV, unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
But at one point in time, everybody had something like that they paid for.
Yeah. I wonder, again, I mean, like YouTube TV might be a good example for what I'm imagining in the future, where now YouTube TV has, like, we still have all the channels. You've got like ABC, NBC, whatever, that I think will never go away. But then you have like TBS and True TV, and people still watch those. Like, those still have schedules. I guess what I'm imagining is eventually all of the channels that just broadcast stuff live or have like a set schedule, maybe those just kind of, even though there's a lot of them, they just kind of fall by the wayside, and things get released more in a sense to YouTube TV as just a show. I don't know. I don't know.
Because there's so much like live TV is still such a thing though. Like people like, and I think about too, like there was a point in time when like America's Got Talent and shows like that were like the nightly watch. Like that's what my family would watch. Like every weeknight there would be like America's Got Talent, and even when the back end of it was like The Masked Singer and all the different ones, American Idol, all those great shows that we watched every night. I think a lot of those still have good viewership, like shockingly good viewership on live TV, to where a lot of the channels like TBS and TNT that are more like movie channels, I still feel like those channels like hold up. Like if I have YouTube TV, like I'll just scroll through the guide and I'll still watch those. I don't know if that gets lost in the streaming service age.
That's what I guess more of my prediction is. I think that is what gets lost. That you just have a guide of stuff that's on right now, and you can jump in the middle of it because it's on, or it's whatever. I think channels seem to be looking for more stuff, particularly sports, but also things like America's Got Talent or The Bachelor or The Masked Singer that feel like events that you have to watch live, unless we're going to fill our time with Law and Order, even though that still probably gets a lot of views too. But I think that part, Law and Order, the actual live watch viewership is going to go down, where you see like companies, even like Netflix, chasing like, can we do live events, where they previously only been, we just make new shows and we stream them. They're trying to do live events, so because that's what gets people to actually make a point to watch something.
Appointment listening, or appointment watching, I guess in this case. But that makes me question, if Netflix is trying to do it, then is it a good model? Like, is it is it a good model for TV? Like, is it good for TBS? Because you think about like TNT, right? TNT makes a lot of money on the NBA playoffs because they have NBA playoff games. They get played on TNT. It's one of their big deals. But when TNT isn't broadcasting the NBA during the playoffs, then they fill that in with movies or shows or whatever they have on there. And so then you begin to question a lot of these big NBC, ABC, TNT, ESPN that have these huge contracts because everything right now on live TV is based off of sports.
Yeah.
Sports are the biggest moneymaker. And so you start to wonder if they continue to have these large deals, it feels like how are they going to fill that other time? If not Masked Singer or American Idol during the year when they don't have, like obviously on NBC, like they have like, what is it, their Sunday Night Football right now?
NBC has that, yeah.
And then on Monday night, they have, I'm sure, some show.
I think it's going to just go to the NBC. I don't know, like they have the news and stuff. Like that's what people are still going to watch news. People are still, like that is not going to entirely go away.
Which is also taking a huge hit.
But I think every night, sometime in the near future, it's going to be like where there's not even sitcoms on any of those channels anymore. Where right now, like they have the Abbott Elementary Night on ABC and they have the whatever, Ghosts on CBS. I think they are probably just going to stop wasting their time putting those on and just come up with live stuff to fill every night. And then those other shows are just going to go to the streaming services.
And my next question is, when are these big enterprises like the NFL and the NBA, because they're a big driver right now of those stations, when are they going to say no more NBC, no more ABC, and just say you can watch us on the NFL streaming service? When is that? Like you think about like the Big Ten and the SEC and college football, so much of what determines what they do is based off of their TV broadcast schedule. Whether they have a contract with ESPN or ABC or CBS or whoever it is, depending on who their contract is with, depends on so much of what they do in their conference. How long until they say, we're all going to Netflix or we're all going to the Big Ten SEC streaming service? I feel like that's in the future.
Thinking is that they just completely sever ties and they're like, we'll just do it ourselves. The thing is, I don't know at this time.
Because that crushes TV.
Yeah, that'd be tough for TV.
Devastating.
But I don't think any of the other sports leagues outside of possibly the NFL would have any chance of survival doing that on their own. Because you also think about it too. A lot of them in recent years have been forced to run their own regional, run the local teams' networks. And you're talking like if you're talking baseball, that's where the money is made. And even those have a tough time staying afloat sometimes. The TV networks that are just based only around the team.
Like Valley Sports. I have Valley Sports for the Cleveland Cavaliers that I pay for every month.
Yeah. And so even though that live viewership of the Cavs is going to be so great, having to run a whole network and they don't get enough not being on in front of people somewhere else to be able to afford to create it on their own. So
you don't think that I think they could go by themselves. I think they could. I think the NBA could go by themselves. I think baseball is in a really weird place. I don't know, because baseball still is trying to figure out their footing with kind of how like the new world has been kind of taking baseball in.
Yeah.
I know that people still love baseball, and there's people that would pay to be able to watch every baseball game and be able to see them all. But for it to go on its own right now, I don't think this is a good time for baseball to do that.
I think, obviously all the niche sports, or even sports like, I wouldn't consider golf niche, but like it gets massive viewership when the Masters comes around comparatively to a lot of things. But if golf was never on regular TV anymore and had to only run itself, it would crush the business completely, because those big events that are on main TV are so big, but they're only able to be big because they're on big TV.
And I think about too, for like, if you think about the NBA and Major League Baseball, right? They aren't even on TV. Like, how many NBA games do you see on live TV a night? There's like one. And so they're already kind of they're doing this in their own region. Like, obviously, I'm just subscribed to the Cavs. And some people have NBA League Pass or whatever it is. And it's the same thing for baseball. For any MLB game, you're seeing like 1 or 2 games on your regular live TV. And then if you want to watch your team play, you're going to have to subscribe to something else. So, I mean, realistically, they could just say, we're already doing it separately on Bally Sports or whatever their streaming service is. We could just do it. We should just do it together. Because they're all, I mean, you have to pay. If you want to watch your baseball team every game, you have to pay for it. You have to pay going off of live TV. The only thing that's widely broadcasted is the playoffs for the NBA or Major League Baseball. Their regular season is almost completely streaming service at this point.
Let me ask you this. What is one thing that frustrates you about streaming services besides the obvious that it's just all fragmented, where it never used to be this way until Netflix became a thing, where there's some shows you just can't watch, and now it's most shows you can only watch if you have one streaming service. What's something else? Because that's too obvious.
One thing that frustrates me, and I think this is just the way that I think. I was talking about this with my roommate the other day, right? So like Amazon Prime, Netflix, whatever it is, on there you have your subscription service. Like on Amazon Prime, I have my subscription. But there's also movies on Amazon Prime that I can watch if I pay $1.99.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I would tell you I have never paid $1.99 for a movie on Amazon Prime. Right?
Yeah.
And my question is, because I've went through, I've been like, oh, we've been searching for a movie, and I found one that like, oh, I've really wanted to see this, or oh, this trailer looks really good. Oh, crap, it's $1. And I won't pay for it.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why would I not pay for it? Like, I would throw away $1. If you handed me $1, I would say, don't worry about it. I would spend $1 at the grocery store right now for a Coke. Why would I not spend $1 to go on Amazon Prime and watch whatever movie it is? But it's because I already pay however much it is for Amazon Prime that I'm like, I can just find a free one.
It feels like a ripoff. Yeah.
It feels like I'm being ripped off.
And you're right. With so many other options, why would I pay for this one specifically?
Why would I pay for it? But then at the same time, I'm like, why wouldn't I pay for it?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I pay $1.99 to watch this 2-hour-long movie that, and if you asked me in a 2-hour period, would I pay $1 for something? It probably yes, in real life.
That's funny. I think you are, I don't know if you're in the minority, but I think we probably underestimate it, because I can think of somebody in my mind right now that going through and doing the exact same thing you would do, they would pay for it in no time flat. And here's what's crazy. They probably have that exact movie on a different streaming service, and they already have, and they don't even know.
And they won't even take the time to go look.
And they'll still pay for it. Yeah, I can think of people like that. So that could just be us being real frugal and mildly tech savvy as well. Could be a bonus. But that is I just think it's annoying. Yeah, when you go through, and this is a tip I have for people, that when you go through, you're trying, if you Google movies, you're like, oh, I really want to watch this tonight. A movie pops in your mind. I want to watch this. And you Google it, and then it only shows you like where you can buy it, where you can rent it. Or if you're scrolling through Amazon or scrolling through, like some people have the on-demand guide or whatever, and it shows you where you can rent it. If you go to justwatch.com, this is a tool that I use all the time. It tells you, type in the movie you want to watch, and it tells you which streaming services have it, if any. And it includes all, not even just like Amazon Prime and Netflix and Paramount Plus, the big ones. It even includes like Tubi and the Pluto TV, like all the random free ones that you would never even think, do you even have this or not? And it lets you know where you can watch it on there, or if you can rent it or whatever. And so that is massively helpful. And I feel like it saved me a lot of trouble and made sure I watched some movies that I might have otherwise missed because I didn't know where to find them.
Yeah, like one that was the other weekend, I wanted to watch Shutter Island, like with my brothers and E and my roommate. And it was funny because on Amazon, it's not on the Amazon subscription. It's on the Amazon Premium subscription, which is stupid. But it was like $1.99. So then I go online, I type in like, what is it streamed on, right? And the only thing I think it was actually available on for the regular subscription was Paramount Plus. And I was like, well, then I'm not Paramount Plus, so I'm not watching it. Like, I'm not paying $1 to watch it on Amazon Prime because I'll just pick another movie, even though I know I wanted to watch that one.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of because I feel like I'm already paying ridiculous prices to have it anyway.
Yeah. Do you have another tip, another helpful tool or trick for people?
It feels as if, and this is something that it feels as if everybody is having, and if this is not a tip, it feels as if everybody is having to choose between the streaming services. Before, it felt like you could have everything, and the password sharing, very ideal. Everyone could have everything, and we were pretty much stealing it from the streaming services. And so when people get up in arms about password sharing, I'm like, we were stealing. Like, we were stealing. And so I don't really, I get it. It upsets me too. Mm-hmm. I would love to have every single one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, yet again, we were pretty much stealing from the streaming services. It makes sense why they would crack down on that. And so it feels like everybody's having to choose what your show or your streaming service is based off of what you enjoy. I don't know how people are deciding what they're cutting out.
Yeah.
I know there's ones that people use less than others. For me, there's not one that I use that stands above the rest. But that's just for me.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I feel like any given streaming service, I feel like I can find a way to live without, but I don't want to have none of them. But at the same time, so, I mean, the one I pay for at the moment is Max, and I utilize that. We don't have access to Netflix anymore, and it was a couple times at first. It was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But now, I mean, I don't even really think about it that much.
Yeah, once you know what's available for you. The only thing that stinks is when you see, I do this a lot on TikTok. Mm-hmm. I'll see a movie on TikTok that someone's like, oh, this is a really good movie, and I'll look up what it's on. Mm-hmm. And if I don't have that streaming service, then I'm immediately upset. Yeah. And it feels like whatever one you have in the moment of trying to find a movie, it feels like whatever one you have just is the worst. No matter what. You could have any streaming service, and when it comes down to you're sitting there with your friends and you're like, let's watch a movie. And you're clicking through, you're like, man, I bet Hulu has better offers, or I bet Amazon Prime is better than this, or it must be Netflix. The grass is
always greener.
It's always green. No matter which one you have, nothing ever feels good when you're trying to pick a movie.
I'll tell you that my top advice, and I feel dumb too, because giving this advice, there's some people that are way more advanced than us, or that are maybe more comfortable with stealing or whatever. But they're like, why don't you just use this thing? It has all of it, and you don't have to pay anything. But that we like to stay above board, and at some point too, for all the shows that I kind of want to watch, there's only so much effort I'm willing to put in to watch any individual thing. That's it. So here's my best advice, and it's surprising, I feel, how many people don't know about this, and that is you gotta get one of those antenna things. Mm-hmm. That's the technical term, is antenna things. You gotta get one of those things. They're like $15. They're still so cheap. It's like the cost of a monthly streaming service, and you get it and you have it forever, and it never stops working, and it gets you all of your channels. We're talking ABC, all the main ones.
All the cable
ABC,
main channels. Yeah.
Anything that would have NFL football on it during the regular season or playoffs. And it doesn't just get you those either. It gets you all these random channels that usually just have old TV shows or news or whatever. But you got just for sports alone, the amount of effort and trouble you will save yourself just by having that thing plugged into your TV. That's again, $15. That is my best advice. I just had to tell my parents to get one recently because they couldn't watch any of the playoff football. And I was like, how do you not have one of these? They used to have one of the big antennas that you used to need at the house they lived in. And I was like, how do you not have the new little tiny one that just plugs into the back of the TV?
That's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's just smaller, and it's not like a whole construction apparatus outside your house, and they didn't even know it was a thing.
My brother has one of these. I just recently set up one of these in one of my parents' houses. Mm-hmm. And when you the thing is when you plug it in, it's immediate. Yeah. It just immediately starts searching for channels. It literally takes, from the time that you plug it in to putting it up, it's going to take 5 minutes for it to find ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, just the main ones.
It has all of those, and then there's probably depending on where you live, 30 other channels that sometimes occasionally have weird, interesting things on them.
And I would say a lot of people will say, I don't have cable or I don't have whatever because I only have Netflix, or I only have Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus. But that's a good workaround, that if you do want to be able to watch those local TV shows, that the normal shows, the normal networks, It's a great workaround for that.
Yeah.
The people do not do. You can buy that thing anywhere. You can go to Walmart and buy one of those.
Walmart has them, yeah. And yeah, then you never miss anything that's like a major live event. Every awards show, so many playoff sports, college football, it has all of that, and then a whole bunch of other random stuff you wouldn't think of. So you just have to be at the right place at the right time for a lot of that. So that's my advice.
Never miss the Masked Singer ever again.
Yeah, it's the RIOT.